Welcome to a tutorial for Whiteout Survival. This is a quick start, free to play, and the goal is to get ourselves to a higher furnace level with decent enough power. And one of the primary milestones you want to set early on is to get furnace level 7, which allows you to join an alliance. But for the time being, we're going to the tutorial. The tutorial is pretty straightforward, there's not much to it. I'm skipping most of these things because I've done it many times before. If it's your first time playing, there's no harm in seeing it through and just kind of going step by step. For now, the requirements are to build a cookhouse, which is what we're doing. Then we're gonna be now it's gonna start kind of focusing on the various constructions, the huts, the cookhouse, getting resources, etc. So the strategy in the beginning is to just gain access to as many things as possible and progress the levels as high as you can, with the top priority being given to the furnace. The only exception being if there's new buildings to be constructed, then you typically want to construct those, but you pretty much always want to try and make your furnace higher. So we're going to go up to furnace level 2 now. Construction is started. And while that's going on, we're just getting our resource gatherings upgraded, assigning some survivors here, and in just a moment I'll be checking the next level for the furnace as well. So I'm seeing that I need shelter 1 level 2, so that will be a requirement which we want to satisfy as soon as possible. Now it does prompt you with the option to getting a second construction queue, which you can pretty much permanently have on by paying gems. It gives you a 15-minute free trial, but then it costs 1,000 gems for 2 days worth of construction queue, which you absolutely want to spend and get as a free-to-play player. It's well worth that, as is getting VIP too, but that's something that will happen later on. For now it's not necessary, we can still get by with the resources we have. And we're just getting some shelters upgraded here in the meantime. The tutorials get less and less frequent and much shorter, but in the beginning there's a few of them. And I think they do a pretty good job of introducing the game and the concepts and kind of giving you purpose to what you do. So I'm grabbing as much resources as I'm being given. Shifting on to the next chapter, which is tough decisions. More resources coming our way. We upgraded the furnace. In the meantime, I can look through and see what else I can upgrade. These are going to be limited. The resource gathering will be limited by the furnace level. I can still do some minor upgrades in the meantime. And if nothing else is available, then it's not illegal to spend gems to speed things up. Typically you want to speed things up using the speedups, but that's not available at this early stage. It will become soon enough. So for now, there's really not much I think I can do. And I just finished that. So more cutscenes coming in. I'm already getting ready to skip the whole thing. I don't think you can actually skip this one though. Yeah, it's pretty short conversation they have. And this is just one more thing you can do to get more resources, which is when a snowstorm's coming, you have to generate enough resources and then you just claim more stuff along the way. So these are very trivial to achieve. You can just keep your resource gathering systems upgraded, which is a very important thing to do. In between furnace upgrades, you want to get those resources upgraded and in good shape. And always construct new buildings. Unless you lag out like I think I did. Yeah. So it's a little bit, there's a bit of latency at the moment. So it's saying coal mine needs to go up. So that's going to be the first priority. Since we need a higher level coal mine, that's what we'll focus on. But since we have 2 construction queues, we can also do other stuff in between. So no reason not to put it to good use. And I just used the player panel up top to assign the resources. It's just easier to do that. The cookhouse is also something I try to keep upgraded. Survivor happiness and fullness does help to keep kind of high. It's not super important, but when they go on strike because they're unhappy, it will cost you resources, and it's not something you typically want because it's going to be 30% less production. Now at this stage, if there's not much else that can be done, you just pay the money and get it over with. So yeah, furnace level has now progressed even further. We're approaching steam age, although it's still the early phase of steam age. This is the start of the hero introduction, where heroes can be used. And once again, you should probably read these the first time around. I know I did, and it was actually pretty nice. They have a decent story going in. It's not too long-winded, it's not pointless. It kind of gets you in the right state of mind. Unfortunately, the fights to begin with are mind-numbingly boring, but this can change quite quickly. And in fact, I'm just gonna do this one kind of compulsory fight, and then I back out and just, you know, I'll revisit this when I have more power and I can get rid of these guys a little quicker, because it's too slow to take care of. There's wind chill coming in, so we can max out the furnace, and that means that it's just going to cost a little bit more coal to operate. Not much, but it does cost more. Still, the way that the game's designed in the early phase is as long as you keep doing whatever it tells you to, you can keep getting more resources, and you don't have to wait for almost anything. As you can see, I'm always doing something new. And that is that goes a long way in kind of getting your foot in and approach furnace level 7 virtually in, like, I would say half an hour you'd be able to get to furnace level 7, if not even earlier than that. And this is once again completely free to play. We are not spending a dime here. We're just using what they give us, and maybe adding a few extra codes as well, some gift codes that we can use. So I'm thinking damage is what I want mostly, and I'm just gonna blast up in damage. Sergey is decent as tanking, and he kind of takes a punishment even without much levels, so mostly I focus on upgrading the damage because it just gets the fights over quicker. It wouldn't be necessarily ideal to do that. You might want to balance things a bit better to progress as far as you can, but progressing as far as you can isn't that important to me at this stage. Progressing as fast as I can is the most important. Even if I progress less and I cannot explore as far, if I can do 30 levels in 10 minutes as opposed to do 30 levels in 15 minutes and then keep pushing further, I'd much rather opt for spending less time, because there's so much more things to do in the game that spending too much time in exploration is kind of a waste of time. So exploration is something I'll do when there's not much else to do. And as you can see, I keep checking the furnace level requirements, and just, well, someone died. Too bad. Rest in peace. It's not that important though. So the focus once again will be on getting my resources up, getting that shelter level requirement up as well. But since I will need resources, I'm trying to get those resource gathering tools up as quickly as I can. So we can outfit that with a survivor, which we will in just a moment. Progressing through more chapters, getting more resources. And so yeah, obviously unlock permanently requires me to pay, but you can just spend 1,000 gems, 2 days of construction queue. It's pretty cheap, it's a very good deal. And you do get a ton of gems, I have to say. So well worth the purchase. That and VIP 2 is something you do want to opt for in early game development. It helps a ton to get those two. And to help you along with the VIP 2, you can basically use a few codes that will give you some extra gems. And those codes will typically also give you additional VIP XP. So it gets you most of the way there when you use them. And as far as the codes go, right now, if I look up the exact code itself, I would say it's so it could be WOS 0213 or DC 100K or X9 capital N1 capital W, but honestly you can just look these up, Whiteout Survival codes, try them all and see if you can find something decent. Typically they'll have something along these lines that you can use, and it goes a long way in getting you set up. So once again, just blasting through all the options we have, checking what the furnace requirement will be, and doing that. Now the next stage for me is getting VIP2 to get more resources. Unfortunately, I kind of screwed up in recording the game, and I ended up recording the browser session, which there's no point seeing that. So you're gonna see that the furnace level is gonna jump forward from level 5 to level 7 in just a moment. But the same concept still applies, which is this hasn't happened yet, by the way. I'm still on furnace level 5. So I'm just going through the motion of just getting as much stuff as I can in terms of gems and such. And in maybe a few seconds I'm gonna have screwed up and I will be losing that extra stage of furnace progress. But once again, you just check the requirements of the furnace and you upgrade whatever you can, and then you just move on to getting more stuff from the missions, which is the stuff at the bottom, getting more resources from the resource generators, keeping those things up to date, which is what I'm doing at the moment, and always trying to push for that extra furnace level. The extra furnace level is super important, and getting 7 is super essential. It gives you access to an alliance. Join any alliance, anything works, but I would suggest finding a higher level alliance because it will typically give you more boosts, and also a higher membership alliance and a high powered alliance. This typically means players are more active, they are more aware of what they're doing, they also want to contribute to you because they know they're going to get stuff in return when they're doing that, and they're just more aware of what they're supposed to do. Joining an alliance with a single member in it is kind of useless, and it won't really get you much benefits. Joining an alliance with almost 50 members in it will give you a lot of assistance whenever you ask for speed up help. So that's just the way it works. So, and at the moment, going through the shelters, there's downtime, so I'm just going to use that downtime to get as much stuff upgraded as I can. Check the requirements once again. So this is the stage where I'm thinking I'm going to be held back by my resources, and I need the VIP2. So you can see I can get wood and I can get meat at VIP1, which is where you start with, but to get coal and iron you need VIP2. So I can still do some progress here as it stands, but I'm very quickly going to get capped out, so I need to start thinking a little bit about that. So just getting some resources consumed just so we can progress. There is no real need to do exploration for now. There's still plenty of things to do. As you can see, I'm still capped by iron and coal. And this is where I try to go and get the additional VIP upgrade. I just basically go and enter some gift codes. So there's been a skip, unfortunately, as you can see. For this level 7, I lost that footage that I mentioned earlier. But what I did is I put in all the gift codes I could find. I found one that worked, which gave me VIP XP and a bunch of gems. I then purchased extra gems to get to VIP2. And from that point on, I just did as many upgrades as I could to get to the furnace level, 6 and then 7. It's the exact same notion. I apologize for losing the footage. I completely screwed up. I saw 14 minutes, I think, of just me watching a browser. But as you can see, in total around 30 minutes or even less, you can get to furnace level 7. Now I'm doing whatever I'm told to do. I can see I've got a bunch of keys, 12 and 13 up top, so I'm just going to do the 10 key at once for both of these. And then I just do the single keys to get rid of them. And the heroes, by the way, are one excellent way to get a ton of power. I got actually super lucky here, and I got Molly, I think she's called, from the chest. That was a complete coincidence. So that's like 10 tokens for Molly, and you can get more tokens for her from the 7-day daily activity stuff. So that was pretty cool. But Molly's, by the way, insanely strong, so you do want to get her up top. Her ice ball is just brutal. It stuns and it causes a ton of damage, and it's really high. It's really wide range, and it also can be used at range. It doesn't have to be up close, so it's incredible. Molly's absolutely an S tier hero. And Bahiti is obviously very good as well. So I'm getting rid of some of these. Probably not the best way to do it. Probably an easier way to just do it from the hero level upgrade. But I'm giving her more juice. Anything extra I might give to Bahiti, but nothing really left, so we just continue on, get as many stuff as we can. Having unlocked VIP 2, once again I'll explain that I have access to get, you know, iron and coal now from the VIP shop. And the shop is actually very useful, and don't be afraid to spend gems, don't be afraid to use speed ups, they're there for a reason. It's extremely useful to do them early on, so do them. Obviously don't waste like a 1 hour speed up to get you 30 minutes. You may as well just spend gems instead, or wait and do something else. And at this stage, because there's not much going on, and because my heroes are now more powerful, I can just do some exploration because there's not much else left to do. But at this stage, you know, it may as well just get skipped because there's a lot of stuff to get through, and until we do, like, it's just gonna be mind-numbingly boring. So we'll continue on when this is over, and I'm going as far as I can. So we're nearing the end of the exploration phase, and we go back to claiming a bunch more missions and more stuff. So someone invited me, and I'm just kind of reviewing at this point if this is worth it, if there's anything better that I might want to try and apply to. Mostly checking the power level, the alliance level, and overall like activity. I did apply to one right away the moment I got access to it, but he did not accept me. And since this guy accepted me, I'm thinking, you know, what else can I join that's decent? This one is much lower power level, even though it has a ton of members. So I'd reckon, you know, it's pretty much a good option to join. Now the first thing I'm going to be doing is spending on tech and getting as much. I keep screwing up, I keep going into help. I meant to go to tech and spend as many contributions as I can. Remember that I bought this from the VIP shop, so I have a ton of resources. I'm not really lacking resources, but the benefit of spending it this way is you can buy, you know, some stuff from the alliance shop, and the alliance shop have some pretty good stuff. For one thing, I'd always get any VIP XP I can. I'd absolutely snatch that up. And secondly, I try to get any hero shards I could, and maybe some speed ups or some teleportation tools or something like that. There's a lot of good stuff. There's even shields that you can get from the alliance shop, so really good. Now the benefit of being in an alliance, for those that might be new to the game, is that you can press that hand up top, that little like shake a hand, and you'll get, as you can see the prompts coming up here, is you can get speed ups as in help to progress that faster. And it's absolutely incredible because as you're going up in levels, things start taking longer to progress, but because of an alliance and the help that you're given from an alliance, it almost makes it as fast as when you were starting out, which is taking 10 or 15 seconds as opposed to taking 1 minute or 2 minutes. So it's one great way to just, you know, compact things once again, keep them going, keep them moving, and just progress fast. So having joined an alliance, you get extra gems, which is awesome. No one's complaining there. And more progression. Just keep going, see what the furnace requires. Actually, no, I didn't even check that. I just checked off the extra coal expenditure. I'll have to check it back on. And I honestly don't really do that. I'm just trying to be frugal for no goddamn reason. There's no point to doing that, to be honest. So you can see I got 7 out of 7 help. And that help bar will keep growing as you increase your embassy and improve your alliance perks. So a higher level alliance with more perks will give you more help. Each help will reduce even more time, and it's just overall awesome to have in building up and growing as a team. More stuff that I can use for heroes. Always welcome to get more shards and get more upgrades. I can now recruit Chloris. She's really high damage as well. Absolutely awesome. And I do want to, bump up her level a little bit. I will in just a moment. Now he's been upgraded to 1 star, which gives him access to higher level skills. Molly will be a while still. But now we're going to be boosting Chloris and getting her up a fair bit, because she does do great damage, including AoE damage, and that's just going to help us progress even further and faster in the exploration stage. So I'm thinking of progressing this probably because it's the next requirement for the furnace, and since it's maxed out now, it probably is ready to, yeah. There's a little arrow, as you can see, there's a little uptick arrow near any building on its level. There's a little flag that says 5 in this case for most buildings, like shelters. There's a little green arrow that points up, which means they can be upgraded. If they don't have that arrow, that means that either they cannot be upgraded because you're lacking resources, because you haven't upgraded the internals like I'm doing now, or because the furnace level is too low, and you've basically reached the same level as the furnace level. So at furnace level 7, the buildings can only really get up to level 7. At furnace level 8, then they can all get up to 8. Even if I unlock a new building, that new building can immediately go up to whatever furnace level I have, which is something you typically want to do, depending on what it is. Some stuff is more important than other stuff. For example, at one stage you unlock the storehouse, but the storehouse is virtually useless until you get to level 11, which at level 11 furnace, when you break into level 12, you will lose your protective baby bubble. And that means people can just come by, raid you, and take your extra shit that you're not protected. A storehouse will give you higher protection. It will allow you to store more stuff without anyone raiding you, taking them away. And that just makes it really useful then. But until then, it would be just a waste of a construction queue to be used up when I can be spending it developing my clan further. So some stuff takes priority over other stuff, and as things get more and more necessary, you prioritize those instead. Intel is another thing you do want to use. The survivor camps you can just immediately hit up. I'll leave him just in front of Molly, because Molly does walk up, whereas the others stay behind. And you can see just how much damage they do. It's pretty ridiculous. So these kind of fights are instant as well in Intel, and it costs you just the stamina that you need to spend on that. Stamina is absolutely perfectly used on Intel. You always want to get that Intel and upgrade it as quick as you can. The more Intel missions you do, the higher the Intel level goes, and the more missions you give. So always do them. Another thing you can use to check if a fight is doable or not is to look at the power level up top. It's a decent guess. It's not always the case. You can typically beat opposition, especially in PvE, that's like 100,000 more than you are. But early on, those power levels are significant. So in the 100,000 power level range, 10k power can actually be quite significant. Later on, when you're approaching the million power ranges, 100,000 is not that big of a deal. You can typically beat them. Even though it might get close, you can typically beat them. But once again, I'm trying to do things quick, so fighting fights that are barely winnable is just going to take too much time, and I don't want to do that. So I typically tend to upgrade their secondary skill as opposed to their primary skill first, because that just means they're doing more overall damage spread out throughout the fight. And for example, in Bahiti's main skill, that's just going to do a single target nuke, which oftentimes it could miss because the target's already dead. So I don't prioritize it as highly, but since I've got a ton of books that I can spend, I'll just spend it on that, may as well. So max power goes back on because there's frost coming in, and I don't think I'm going to toggle it back off ever again. It's kind of pointless to do. So keep your heroes boosted. It's one easy way to get a ton of power and make you very attractive for other clans to try and recruit you. Keeping high power is very important, but also realize that as a free-to-play user, you're gonna be limited. There will be ones that are approaching, like, I think at some point there's a notification that says someone got 4 million power and finished the rookie growth phase, and this has been like, the server has been open for like 16 hours, so this is a very brand new server, the latest that they have, and someone just in a few hours maxed up to 4 million power. That's insane, and you cannot possibly do that for free to play, so you'd have to pay a lot of money to get that. In terms of the game being balanced as in pay to win, like, I think it's kind of free to work at. You can freely work at the game and grind, which is kind of what I'm doing here, but if you want to have fun and play the game properly, you kind of have to pay, right? At some point, it doesn't happen early on at the stage, but at some point you kind of have to. The alternative would be joining an alliance that accepts you as a free-to-play user that has people that are paying, and they're aggressively paying, right? And they're still accepting free-to-play users in the team. So if that's the case, then I can see how that would be viable. You'd still do okay. Obviously, it would be nowhere near the top. But I've been in an alliance with people that that were paying hefty amounts, and I only paid one thing. I only bought the construction pack, which gave me permanently the construction queue open, and the first time purchase, which I think includes Natalie, and you can see that little icon there at the moment. I only bought that, which cost me like $250 because it was on sale, and I could sort of keep up with some of these guys that were paying like incredible amounts of money, but that's because I had to offset it with the fact that I was putting in a lot of work and optimizing a bunch of stuff. Once you compare yourself to people that are paying and putting in the effort, which typically they will be doing both, you have no chance. Like you will be miles behind them, like really far behind. So if you're trying to take this seriously and competitively, and you're gonna take it personally, if they beat you up, someone just comes by to raid you and take like most of your shit, this game might not be for you if you plan on staying free to play. But then again, there's a lot of things to do in here. The alliances do kind of like offset some of that bullying behavior, because if you're part of a decent, strong alliance, because you're putting in the work and you're decent and you know what you're doing and you're contributing and you're participating in their fights, you know, and the events, you will be quite desirable as a player. I typically would say an alliance would prefer a player that is active and plays, as opposed to a player that just kind of, you know, pays a bunch, has a ton of power, but then does fuck all with it. That makes that player kind of useless. So you kind of want to, you know, be active and participate in alliance stuff. So there's still room for you, and you can still get a lot. And alliances, as they get better, you do get better with them. So you do get a lot of help from them. There's no reason to think that you can't progress in the game. It just takes more time, and there are some things you just can't beat. Like the arena challenges will be riddled with people that are paying money to improve their heroes. The typical combat will be once again dominated by those that have huge furnace levels and massive armies and a ton of perks being applied. You know, all the research unlocked, which is much easier if you're paying, because you can speed a bunch of shit up. You'll have a ton of resources you can use. You know, on and on. The list is never ending for people that are paying. But you do have to pay through the nose to get that, right? If you pay what I did, like $250, you get a little extra boost. It's nothing major. It kind of just, you know, saves me the hassle of having to unlock the construction queue every 2 days. But other than that, it's not anything major. I wasn't I wasn't really doing anything better than I'm doing now, honestly. It's pretty much the exact same. So if anything, I'm doing better now because I know the game more. But yeah, I mean, the difference for people that are paying a little bit is not huge. The people that are paying a lot, though, it's massive. It's absolutely massive. So at this stage, I think I've pretty much covered the general idea of how to progress in Whiteout Survival. You just want to go and focus on your furnace and get your buildings up, get those upgrades going. In downtime, you can do intel, you can do exploration, you can upgrade your heroes, you can get any deals that you can. Make sure you join an alliance as soon as you can at level 7, And also give help, right? Whenever you can give help, you should give it. It's a good idea to do so because you're getting alliance contribution points that can then be spent in the alliance shop, giving you even more perks, you know, speed ups, hero tokens, VIP XP, a bunch of good stuff. So no reason not to. And that, I think, covers the vast majority of it, right? Just do your whatever access you have. Like the game will give you a bunch of red dots all over the place. Whenever you see a red dot, you typically want to click it, right? The backpack being the exception, because the backpack will always have a red dot no matter what. Anytime you get something new, it'll have a red dot. So you can click on it and cancel it, but then the moment you get another, like a bunch of resources you claim, the red dot comes back. So there's no point trying to clear the backpack red dot, but everything else you can absolutely clear. So finally, I'm gonna be just pushing on exploration, and that'll be, I think, it for the majority. No, I think I'm doing something else. So let's see what else I'm doing. Okay, so what's happened now is I can train troops. So let's see. Getting more resources from the missions, I can train more troops. And now I've already unlocked level 3. I completely skipped past tier 2 infantry, which is awesome. Saves you the hassle of, you know, having lower tier troops. Just get right to it. And the moment I'm going to be building additional camps, which is the marksman camp and the lancer camp, I'll get them up to the highest level I can and do that way instead, right? So I can recruit more heroes, tons more power coming out of this. Same thing, you just upgrade as much as you can. Charlie's actually very good in exploration. He's destructive as hell. He's quite long-lived, he has decent survivability, and he has a ton of damage he does. He's like insidious. And he is ranged too, so he can throw like his extra skill, he can throw to the back and crush his opponents. So very good entry. Sometimes I'll swap him out instead of Sergi, and sometimes I'll use him in conjunction with Sergi. Depends on what I have. So you can see I'm boosting his level a lot because he's really good and absolutely big help in the beginning to get by. Getting all the gems from all their chests, which is always welcome, more stuff to get. Anytime they increase a star level, not a shard but an entire star, they'll give you extra 50 gems from that little storybook that you can access. So that just there, I was very quick to close it, but that was the growth event. And that is something you probably want to pursue, if for no other reason than you're getting a very cool looking furnace skin. And that just looks cool. There's nothing else to say about that. It looks cool. And it does give you a ton of resources along with it. So the growth event is very attractive. And you should probably, stick it out. The points just being filled now. It's been a very short amount of time playing. We unlocked another. Actually, I shouldn't have leveled up Eugene. Eugene is not particularly strong, unless you get really lucky with his shards and get a bunch of them. You typically don't want to invest too much levels in him. I kind of misclicked and I leveled him up a couple of times, but I didn't want to. It's not a big deal. So once again, I upgraded second one first, but I have plenty to upgrade the first skill as well, the primary active skill. So I'll just do that too. And Smith is very good as a tank. I sometimes use him instead of Sergi because he does more damage. It seems to me that he does more damage. And you do tend to get a ton of star power for him. But right now he's pretty much empty on star power. So I kind of gave him a few levels, but then I thought against it for the time being because he's not going to be used as it stands. He's too low power. When he gets more star power, then yeah, absolutely. He might get swapped in for Sergi. Or Sergey, however you say it. I'm checking the alliance just to make sure what they're doing, and it's like they're keeping active. I can punch in some additional contributions, just a couple, so I'll do that. Help out, and then We'll see what else is left. Typically, once again, if I have to reset, it's like furnace first. Furnace is already constructing. There's not much else I can do. I'll just finish it and get on with it. So level 8. Arena's been unlocked. This is a place where, you know, the pay-to players go to win. The free-to players go to get the shit kicked out of them. You can still do some decent, you know, damage, but it kind of forces you to just save it. It doesn't let you do anything. Then it forces you to challenge someone, but you can also back out of that challenge and, you know, go and change things up. So the death lineup is not bad, but I do want to change it a bit. I keep screwing up and misclicking. I go into the arena and just kind of like swap things around. I do want Charlie in front, and Sergi, I want him in front of Molly, because Molly's a Lancer and she runs right up, and I don't want that. So I kind of have Sergi in front of Molly because she will run up and everyone will attack Sergi or Charlie, and Molly will be pretty well protected behind the both of them. So I'm thinking of challenging the more powerful one of them all, as by the power ranking, just to get like a sense of things. I'm doing the same swaps, right? And just going for it. Just looking at the power level, this is usually a walkover. If there's that much of a difference, we're talking like 120k difference. It's, especially at this low of a level, it's nearly impossible to make that up. So yeah, that's just gonna get him crushed. This is an NPC, by the way. You start off by fighting an NPC, and then from then on, you're just basically fighting players. So usually the safest bet is to pick the lowest power, but I'm trying to test someone with higher power just to see what I can do. And yeah, I mean, it's actually kind of close, more than I thought. And you can see Charlie's doing like a ton of damage. But yeah, in the end we managed to get rid of him. So that's enough risk for now. I'm gonna go and build other stuff because there's plenty of things to do. Wasting it on arena is not a smart idea. I'm also gonna put my troops to do something, and beasts are things you have to kill in order. So to kill a level 5 beast, you have to kill a level 1, 2, 3, and 4 beast. So you can just pick the closest higher level beast, and then it will tell you, go kill this beast instead. And it will find it for you automatically and save you the time of having to search for an exact beast. So as long as you find a high enough level beast, it will tell you, where to go and what to do. And those high level beasts usually are never beaten by anybody, so you can just stick it out. So embassy level 8, this is something I actually want upgraded because it does help a lot in getting additional help from allies. And as you can see, I used a bunch of gems to just fast forward it and then moved on, going through the monument at the moment, getting all that stuff. Additional keys. Something in the trials, the little red dot, get that. Don't care about paying anything. This usually leads to nothing, just reminds you can pay money, which of course you can. I'm not planning to. So the embassy after upgrading, the furnace will require level 8 embassy. There's not much we can do about that, but we cannot start to upgrade our resource gathering tools. And since I'm kind of queued up on what I can and can't do, I'm just using gems to speed things through. Using gems is not a bad idea. Just don't use too much of them when you know it's gonna take forever. You don't want to like blast through all your gems, like spend 2 or 3k gems just to fast forward something that you'll still have to kind of wait on. But for the sake of these kind of coal mines and lumber, sawmills, etc., it is useful to just get them going and get more resources from them. Yes, I do have a ton of resources, but I will keep needing more. So the more I can make those resources last for me, the better. And the higher up those stages can go, once again, the better. At some point you want to start investing steel in them, but also remember that steel will be shared with your research. Anything you research requires steel, and steel you get from exploration, and exclusively exploration. So I'd suggest you keep some steel, because before you know it, it'll be in bad shape. You'll need a lot of steel. So I still need a little extra levels on the marksman before I can progress. I'm thinking what's the cheapest way to get by. So speeding up that and then doing the marksman camp and possibly using speed ups on it as opposed to gems might be a better option, because speed ups are only used for speeding up, so may as well just do that, right? Now, I opted against speeding up because I'm seeing what else I can do and maybe save myself the speed ups for the time being for something maybe shorter or maybe more trivial. But there's no intel. There's a beast I can send my troops to march against. Other than that, I'm probably gonna have to like speed shit up. So yeah, I'm just basically just spending some time trying to do whatever I can. But it's not gonna be enough, most likely. Also, I'm kind of leaning heavily on the fact that an alliance is going to help me out, and it's speeding them up. As you can see, the time has dropped significantly thanks to the alliance. But there's still more things I can do. So I can celebrate the Hunter's Hut, probably the Iron Mine as well, and just get all this stuff, going. Now, once again, with the marksman camp, I'm holding back because I want to. I'm trying to get the tier 3. There's no point constructing tier 2s when I can just get straight to tier 3 and build tier 3s. They're gonna have way more resources available. Yeah, they cost more, but it's well worth the cost, so it just makes sense. I'm trying to unlock the embassy a little bit because that will also give me access to the furnace upgrade and also some other upgrades, because without it I can't do much. I can also upgrade the infantry camp. Not much else going on here. Kind of a waste of time. Looking back, I think I could have just, spent some gems and upgraded some stuff, which I'm actually doing now. So yeah, I'm gonna go on the shelters. I could have just done that. I got 2.7k gems, so spending 40 gems to just upgrade something is not a bad deal. Also, a good thing to keep in mind is for shelters. I don't know if I've mentioned this already. It's good to give them at least one of each of the steel level stuff, because the first one you purchase gives you a ton, right? Then subsequent purchases will only give you a little bit. It's got a very small increment, but the first one gives you a ton of extra stats. So whether it's comfort or warmth or happiness, always purchase one level in the shelters. For resource gathering, it's not the same. For resource gathering, every level you purchase will give you basically the same return on investment. But other than that, it's not gonna change anything. So for the rest of the session, we're just gonna be doing exploration. This is the point where I basically go AFK and just let it run and do its own thing. And I'm completely forgot about the game, but because the game can auto progress, you just let it auto progress. So you can see just the timer goes down to 1, 0, continues and immediately fights. So that feature unlocks at level 30. You absolutely want to use that feature because, exploration takes a while. You don't have to even think too much about it. There's no downside to losing a fight. You don't really lose anything. You don't get your heroes hurt or anything like that. So just let it run like I'm doing here, and that's basically it. So that's all for today. I hope that covers the general idea of how to get up to higher furnace levels. Once again, you can use the same strategy to push for, furnace level 11. At furnace level 12, you lose your shield, so then you have to start thinking about secured versus unsecured resources. And from that point on, you have to always think about, upgrade your furnace. While your furnace is upgrading, you upgrade your other resources. Once your furnace is upgraded, the first thing I typically would do is the embassy, because that's almost always a requirement to getting the furnace a higher level. So you upgrade the furnace, you upgrade the embassy. Once the embassy is upgrading and the furnace is already upgraded, the second construction queue is used for other stuff like resource gathering stuff, your coal mine, your iron mine, your sawmill, your hunter's hut. Then you go through the other stuff, right? One other thing to keep in mind is that the shelters and the cookhouse and the clinic, they're all going to get capped at level 10, and all the stuff within them, all the minor upgrades within them, will get capped at level 20. For every level you get 2 stages of the minor sub upgrades. That's as far as they make it, and you do want to make it there because it makes your survivors happy. It allows you to constantly enact kind of rules and regulations against them, so to speak, and kind of like milk them for more resources by pressing night shifts, productivity days, rush jobs, and occasionally giving them maybe a festival or two if they're getting really moody. And they will strike out less often, which means you'll get less resource wastage. So that's something you do want to do, but you don't want to do it, you know, at the expense of progressing your primary tasks, which is your furnace. You don't want to get in the way of your furnace. You don't want to get in the way of your resource gathering skills and levels. And also try to keep up on top of your missions, because those missions keep bringing in more and more resources and more gems as well. It's one of the easiest way to get a ton of gems is to just do your missions. And finally, always remember to do your intel. Keep hunting beasts if there's no intel available, and then do your exploration during downtime. If you have no resources, you don't want to spend gems because it's excessive, you run out of speed ups, and there's not much else for you to do explorations, check out the arena, and do some other stuff along the way. Hope that helps. Any questions, feel free to post a comment, like and subscribe for more content.